Today I'm doing a review on Insurgent by Veronica Roth, and this is the second book in her Divergent series. So I discussed Divergent, the first book, a little bit in my top 6 dystopian YA books series, and if you want to see that, go here. But anyway, Insurgent, the second book, it was out just this week, but it was just an excellent book. Like, the first one was brilliant anyway, but this one, it just got a lot more intense. It was darker, had bigger transitions, and the death count was definitely on the rise. It was even higher in this book. And like, the first book had a very straightforward, kind of straightforward plot, in that it was Triss, when she was with her own faction, after she decided what faction she wanted to join. She was in Dauntless, and then we had the whole initiation process in Dauntless, and then it wasn't until about the last 40 pages where the whole kind of war and simulation thing broke out, and that's where it kind of went crazy. And this book is more or less like the last 40 pages of the previous book, and that it's up and down in this. It's practically like a war between all the different camps, or all the different factions, and Triss and Tobias are four. They are back and forth between all the different factions throughout the book, and sometimes they're together and sometimes they're not. And I just thought it was a really intense, exciting read. You really feel for Triss in this book. She's like traumatized with all she goes through, and she grows up a lot and she learns a lot. I think like she goes through stuff in this book that will stay with her forever, and I hope we do get a sense of that in the next book, in the final book, that it's not just all brushed under the carpet. So there is a third book, and it's a trilogy. Practically every dystopian series out there now is a trilogy. So the final book will be out sometime next year, and I just thought Insurgent was excellent. Was it better than the first book? I'm not sure. Like, the first and second book of this series, they're just so different, and like, the whole faction thing is just a really interesting premise, and there is a big twist in the end of the second book, which after a while I started to figure out, and people kept hinting at this big secret. But yeah, so the final book now should be, I imagine it's even going to be more intense and tragic and exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, Triss and Tobias are very endearing and compelling and likeable couple too, which is great. And the only negative I have to this book is that there are so many characters. Like, as Triss goes to each faction, she meets new characters, and obviously there's the ones from the previous book. And not only you have to remember what faction they belong to, Candor, Amity, the rest. You also have to kind of remember which ones they moved from. So which ones they were in before they were 16. So it's hard to keep up with all that, and remember then who's good, who's bad, and who's likable. So that was kind of like the only major negative for me. That kind of confused me at times. And also keeping up with who's with the erudite and who's not with the erudite, and then there's like the Dauntless split into two, so to take note of them as well. So it got a little bit confusing at times, but I mean, I appreciate that complexity in the story too. Like, it's always better to have a story that's more involved rather than just too straightforward. But yeah, I definitely recommend Insurgent. It was excellent, good dystopian YA now, and that's my spoiler-free review. So now I'm going to do a quick spoiler review, and if you haven't read the book, I suggest you switch off now. Okay, Triss, my god, she goes through a lot in this book, doesn't she? She, practically gets tortured by Janine a lot. She loses practically everyone. Like, everyone gets killed almost. And what is with the getting shot in the leg? There are other body parts, like everyone's getting shot in the leg. with the arm coming in close second. And like she loses her parents in the first book, and I feel like she wasn't really grieving too much at the beginning, but then I think it all hits her towards the end. I was so disappointed in Caleb, very disappointed that he turned out to be a bit of a traitor, and like he chose just gaining this knowledge over his sister, over the sister he's meant to love, and that was quite sad for her. I do think Tobias and Tris are really great together, but the amount of going up and down with them, like towards the end, I thought it was going to be like the final down, that she sided with Marcus instead of Tobias, and he kind of got mad at her, and she was almost arrested. But then thankfully he came down and got the truth out, and he was with her again. So I hope in the third book it's not going to be more up and downs, because they've been through the ringer. They need to be just happy now. I know they're not going to be very happy in this whole chaotic world, but at least together that would be nice. So yeah, the part where she gives herself up to the Erudite, that was a very engaging part of the book, and like she was practically suicidal throughout this book. Like she was just wanting to give up on life almost. Peter kind of had a nice bit of a redemption as well when he helped save her, and yeah, the whole big twist in the end that they're kind of apart. Like when I was guessing, are they part of some like experiment where they're all inside this enclosure and people are kind of observing human nature and kind of like experimenting on this new form of society, and it's a little bit like that from what I gather. They're just trying out a new society, and we'll see how that goes in the next book. In the first book I thought like, ooh, being divergent at the beginning was such a taboo and it was scary, and I was like, what's the big deal about being divergent? But it becomes more clear in this book, like, and the Divergent play a much bigger role, and there's a lot more than you think as well. But yes, Insurgent is excellent. I'd love to know what you thought about it, favourite parts, and that's that. So thank you very much for watching, and tune in next time.